All right, and we are recording. This is your host, Ben Duffy, on another episode of Spiritual Fuckboy. So today we have a person that I didn't meet until yesterday. Actually, what happened was I had a cancellation on the podcast, and I was like, well, I really want to record. So I just kind of put out an Instagram story seeing if anyone in the general Boulder, Denver area would want to record with me. And Shaena Hudson has answered the call. And so this is her, Shaena.
Hi.
Yeah, and so we just met up a little bit and talked over coffee, and she has a really interesting story, much like probably many people listening to this. So I thought it was just a beautiful kind of practice just to find somebody on Instagram who's willing to be on the podcast, because that's quite a step, you know what I mean? That's a lot of trust. So thank you for doing that, and I really respect you for doing that, literally within 24 hours.
Oh,
so,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'll just see how it goes.
Yeah,
and
I
love watching you and hearing you speak. So I was like, yeah, I would love to work with you or see you and meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I mean, it takes some courage to be on this podcast with somebody you've never met before.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I think we're going to have a really cool conversation today. So,
me too.
So Shaena is a nutrition coach now. You just launched your brand website.
My business is Balance to Thrive Nutrition. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we will talk more about nutrition in general and gut health in particular.
Yeah.
But I wanted to start first with your path.
Yeah.
And kind of what's taken you to really investing yourself into the path of holistic nutrition.
Yeah. So, like we had kind of talked about before, my life has always kind of been tied in with like addiction. My parents made and dealt meth when I was growing up. So that kind of like affected, I'd say, a lot of my mental health.
How could it not?
Yeah.
So your parents, the whole time you were growing up, here, I'm going to move this just a little bit closer.
Oh, perfect.
So the whole time you were growing up, literally your parents were dealing meth.
Yeah.
Like cooking it, selling it, smoking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was your childhood from when to when?
From birth to like 9.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for those who may be therapeutically minded, what do you think would happen to somebody who has that kind of upbringing, that kind of environment when you're a child? The first memories, the first impressions of the world are and of your your primary caregivers.
Yeah.
Like smoking meth, dealing meth. Like I would assume that's really not consistent.
Yeah, you get a lot of like people just in reaction states. So you're not really getting to see how to like properly move throughout the world or communicate because you're seeing every bad practice highlighted in your face. So that was kind of my experience. And then when I went to try and interact with people in the world, I would say like at a younger age, I had a lot of anger, Like I felt like that was how I expressed all of my emotions. Like I didn't know how to express happiness very briefly and like kind of cautious with it. But sadness for sure, like that took me so long to learn that most of that anger was how I was expressing my hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, thank you for saying that. And already I know this is going to be a great conversation how willing you are to be vulnerable, which is a huge green flag for me. Like vulnerability and healing come, together.
Yeah.
You can't
hand
really
in
heal
hand.
if you're not willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so I hear this upbringing, which was really dysregulating. And then, I mean, to say the least. And then I'll say in therapy, they talk about anger as one of the, what they call a secondary emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there's often something more primary. And this is what I found working with clients also, is that a lot of the time angry expressions, angry behavior, angry moods are actually covering something up.
Yeah.
And the question is, what is that?
Yeah.
And especially in men, a lot of times it can be grief.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what it was in your situation. We were talking about sadness, but sadness for about what?
I think I felt like I lost my parents at a very young age. Like to me, the only way I could rationalize, because I could understand that their beings were like distorted from addiction. I could get that, like I felt bad for them. I was like, I know like they're playing a part in making a choice in this, but it doesn't seem like it's all their fault. So there was that understanding, but that also was confusing and hard because I think if I would have felt like, screw you, like you chose drugs over me, that might have been easier to handle than being like, your mind's like completely distorted, your emotional state, like,
like you literally lost your parents.
yeah,
And that makes me think. I did an internship at an addiction center, and they really teach the disease model of addiction.
Yeah.
Where this is a disease. And like, well, at one level, yes, it's your parents. It's your parents that are really sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that disease, addiction, it runs rampant through our culture, and not just with substances, right?
Yeah.
With behaviors, with sex addiction, work addiction, people addicted to actually even socializing.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about this one beautiful quote, and I always relate it to meditation, which is the majority of man's problems actually arises from his inability to sit quietly with himself. And that's the thing. Like, what happens when we try to sit quietly with ourselves? What comes up?
Yeah.
And how much do we attempt to numb, distract, override, look away from these things that are causing us suffering, when in actuality, maybe if we spent more time with that anger, grief, pain, lack, whatever it is, we can actually transform it from the inside through shifting our relationship to it. Where, yeah, we would think anger, sadness, grief is something innately we need to push away, but is it, when we spend enough time with it and aren't distracting and looking the other way?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, go on.
I think I learned that the hard way, through, like, I always say I'm so grateful that I became an alcoholic, because I think there was still some form that was like resentful at them. And it did feel like sometimes where I was like, is this their choice? And then when it happened to me, I was like, oh, like I can see what a fine line of a choice you feel like you have. Yeah.
And that's the thing too. It's like realizing you're losing your parents, at such a young age, and everything that comes up with that. You know what I mean? Like, divorce can really traumatize people, and the parents are still, there. They're not well, I guess this is my own projection, because I've never had parents that have been addicted to hard drugs, but I'm assuming it would feel like, a shell of a person, and like that relationship just wouldn't have that tenderness and that warmth in the same way when there's addiction fueling that
well,
person.
And you know how like intuitive kids are, so it's like it's like people would be like thinking, oh, like shell of a human, when really it's like, for me, I was more focused on like, oh, I'm afraid that if you go too far, I'm going to have to take care of you.
Wow.
Or like, how am I going to figure out food, or like getting to school?
Oh my God. So this is sub 9 years old.
Yeah. So it's like people think more like, I guess, bigger, but it's like the things that are so basic human need and are that simple that make you feel not like a human without, and like seeing all your siblings like going to school and like new clothes. Like I didn't get new clothes. There was a year, like I remember I almost got in trouble because I was wearing the same dirty clothes a lot.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So Child Protective Services never came.
They did. Unfortunately, like my stepmom, her mom was in the police force. So for some reason, like even though I was very honest about like abuse that was going on, it still didn't get dealt with for a really long time. And like the night, I would say I remember we finally got taken from my parents, it hit like that very extreme breaking point in their addiction. So my dad was like, they were both spun out and fighting, but it got to like a point it had never gotten to. And I'm sorry, Dad, if this ever makes you uncomfortable that I share about this, but it's part of my story. And he's clean and sober now, so I feel comfortable, and like I'm so proud of who he is now. And he's not the same man. To me, like it's very separate.
Yeah. Because
to me, this is like the drug, not even my dad.
Right.
So for me, that's where I can kind of keep it separate. And again, I apologize if this embarrasses him in any way, but I think he's like me. He's very vulnerable. But it just got to like a physical point where it was like very scary. And the cops came, and it had gone so far that we were finally removed. Even though some like very bad stuff had happened prior to that. And yeah, my childhood felt very confusing till I moved with my grandparents, just because I was always labeled as kind of like angry and aggressive because I would question a lot, or just be like, hey, this isn't right, you know? Whereas my sister was more kind of like, I'm just not going to say anything because I'm scared if I say something. And I kind of was just like, I don't know. I don't care. I'm already in pain. What's more pain? Yeah. You know, so I'm going to ask my question.
Right. Comfortable being defiant. And so just to track things. So at the age of 9 or 10, you were taken from your parents and you were put in the custody of your grandparents.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was kind of weird because we went from like not having a lot to being in like a pretty, they were like financially in a good spot, you know, but they were from an older generation. So they never slept in like the same room. They didn't hold hands. It kind of felt like a contract or something.
Their marriage?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's interesting you say that. I remember my grandparents, they also didn't sleep in the same bed. And I remember thinking, why? I don't really get it. And I'm still kind of curious about that. We have no idea. I don't have an idea why. It must be cultural conditioning, really. Like, again, when you say a contract in a marriage, like, we're just doing it, and even though no one wants to be here, we're just gonna keep it going because we have no choice.
Yeah. Like, I remember them even talking to us about how like my grandfather specifically, like, yeah, because my sister and I would be like, you guys don't even love each other. Like, why are you together? Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. And they're like, yeah,
we're very like blunt, direct people.
It's not a bad thing, actually.
Yeah.
What would they say when your sister said that?
They would be like, kind of like, oh, you guys notice, you know? And then they're like, yeah, of course you do notice. Yeah. And then like, well, we do, but it's just a lot different than when we first met. And I still care about her and love her, but yeah, there's just been so much stuff in her life that it's hard, like, for me to look at her the same way.
What? What does that mean?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like as a kid trying to understand that when you haven't really been in functional or dysfunctional relationships, you know, like that. So it was like.
Dude, wait. So, I mean, I think it's just so interesting to see that different generation. Just like, I mean, the fact that they don't sleep in different rooms is a disconnect. They're together and they don't like each other. Yeah. And for me, it's like, you can be together and not like each other. You can be out of a relationship and also having a shitty time. It really depends on, can you commit to your life? You know what I mean? Yeah. Can you commit to the relationships in your life? Yeah. Have difficult conversations. Like, this is where therapy can be huge. You know what I mean? Like, just starting to have ideally an unbiased third party to view what's going on and give you feedback. You know, because otherwise you're stuck in your same patterns and your same way of thinking and your same, honestly, wounds. You're saying, because that's what happens when you're in those deep, intimate relationships, is all those deep wounds that came probably from your relationship to your primary caregivers. That all comes up when you develop that pattern when you were tiny of like, oh, I was crying and mommy actually just walked away from the crib. That can be like such a deep core rejection and abandonment wound that then we carry into all our relationships, and who knows how that affects somebody in their intimate relationships. Yeah. So that's like the therapeutic angle, and also
even wanting to speak up for yourself about a problem when you feel like, oh, maybe they'll reject me or ignore me then.
Right, exactly.
Or the relationship itself.
Exactly. And these events that can happen so young to us where like we don't actually see where it's coming from. We just think it's us. It's just how I am. And for me, it's like I really have trouble allowing at least people that I care about to just cope with life. Yeah. It's not about coping. It's about understanding, wait, why am I thinking this maybe unskillful, painful, narrative, story, belief? And do I have to? Yeah. And it's really that path of inquiry into who am I? Am I this person that, just doesn't speak up because I'm afraid, and where did that come from? Can we start to, again, just inquire into ourselves
Yeah.
to recognize that it's all malleable, workable, and we can shift things in breathtaking ways. But so I want to bring this back to your grandparents not sleeping together, just because I think it's such an interesting point, and it's something I haven't really thought about. It's been in my mind too, because I always just took it for granted. My grandparents were like, oh, they just sleep in different rooms.
Did you always just chalk it up like that's their generation? Do you
I
think?
never really thought about it, actually. I was just like, I never asked them. I mean, my grandparents on this side of the family passed away before I was like, like a teenager. So
Okay. Yeah.
I never really asked. It was just more like, oh, yep, they grandma sleeps in there, grandpa sleeps in there. Cool.
That's just how it is.
It's just how it is. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. There's such a nourishment that comes from connecting in deep, intimate ways, and that doesn't mean just sexually, but deep, intimate ways with somebody that has known you your whole life.
Well, and sleeping, like, you know how someone sleeps, or like, I think like intimacy in the sense of like seeing like their forms out of the bed, but you can still see the imprint, and that like feels sacred in some way when you're like with someone, and you can like still feel their energy there, and it's just it's like comforting.
It's a part of that really deep closeness, you know, and that's that intimacy that I think is so nourishing. And I like the last podcast I had with Ben Raya was really cool. It was talking about tantra, which is which is not just, again, sexual tantra. There's different flavors of tantra, of course. In his perspective, he's like, you don't have to settle for like a subpar sex life when we're talking about neo tantra, and I would say just an intimacy in general. Yeah. Like, it's about taking chances, expressing ourselves in little ways and big ways. When you feel hurt, can you express that to them? Yeah. If they feel hurt, can you open up? And for me, it's like in those arguments with a partner, like eventually somebody has to melt. It's like a battle between two closed hearts. And all of a sudden, no one's winning. Everyone hates each other.
That's such a good visual.
Right. And it's like, great. There's no warmth here. There's no actually seeing each other because the hearts are closed. And that's the thing. It's like it takes the courage of one partner to open the heart and say, like, I'm sorry I hurt you, or I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm like, all right, let me know how I can make things better. Somebody to melt. And all of a sudden that invites the other heart to open as well. Yeah. And then you can get that connection, the hug, the kiss, whatever, the resolution. But that's a vulnerable place to be, which brings me to, like, anytime you open the heart, period, it's vulnerable. Yeah. It's a vulnerable thing. And and that's, again, why I really love what you're bringing, what you're talking about right now, which is deeply vulnerable. And recognizing in order to heal, we can't heal with closed hearts. Yeah. Let's just put it like that. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it remains a mystery as to why people like, again, maybe it's just the norm of your marriage is going to last forever. If not, you're damned and you're going to hell and your neighbors are going to make fun of you. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's pretty valid, I guess. Like, it sounds like such a shitty, like, story to be living in. Do you know what I mean? Like, how limiting, how...
Well, and they were together for 37 years and then divorced. Like, could you imagine that?
What? So 37 years. So they're like elderly at this point. And then they divorce.
Well, I wouldn't even... how old was I? 17. I'm 33 now. My mom's 71. Because my grandma had my dad when she was like 16. Okay. So she was young. Yeah. So she's pretty young for, like, she's a great grandma, but yeah. 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 So
your grandma when your grandma and grandpa, when they got divorced, they were like old, or?
They were still pretty, like, I'd say it was like 12 years ago. Okay. Yeah.
And that makes me think too, I mean, we have probably all heard about the statistics of sexual activity in old folks' homes. Maybe we haven't, but it's off the chain, because in my opinion, I mean, and I work at an old folks home actually on Wednesdays. You do? Oh, that's awesome. Doing therapy groups, and it's actually really rewarding. Yeah. And doing one-on-ones, I hear a lot actually about just intimacy in relationships. It's the same shit. Like, when you get old, it's the same shit that we're dealing with our whole lives, so.
Well, and we're so lucky. Like, I look at their generation and it just makes me feel lucky that they've forged it so we can have a different way of experiencing, Can
you say more to that? Because, like, I agree with you. I'm curious about your angle with it, though.
I just feel like, their generation, it was very rigid. And even before theirs, like my great-grandparents, seeing them when they came around, I could feel even the tension and, like, just rigid, everything seemed... Yeah. we have
Tight.
to be here.
Why is that?
I think because
religious conditioning.
I think religious and societal, you know, like their generations feeling like you had to get married, get the house, start being like a functional mom at a very young age, and stay married, like stay in that marriage only, which I think that's huge nowadays, where like people talk about divorce, but I also don't see a lot of people choosing to be in marriages as much.
And so that's an interesting trend I would like to examine as well from like a zoomed out lens. Like, so back then we have people that, you know, were basically conditioned and thus sort of unconsciously brainwashed into having, you know, this certain style of relationship with the goal being marriage, ideally young. Yeah. And then you live your whole life with somebody and it's beautiful and perfect. And then it dawns on people that maybe it's not everything that they wanted. Yeah. And so that's, again, like our grandparents' age. You know what I mean? Where they maybe, you know, hate each other, sleep in different beds, and are still together their whole lives. Yeah. Instead of, again, working on what intimacy really looks like. Like, that's an open question. What does that look like? It's about, again, vulnerability, sharing pain, sharing lack, sharing confusion, sharing your not knowing. I don't know what I'm doing in life. I don't know what happens when we die. It's kind of scary. That's an invitation into intimacy, you know? And I think it's when we become deeply familiar with our own pain that we are intimate with ourselves. Yeah. And then we can actually sink our teeth into this place and the beautiful people around us intimately. I totally agree with that. Intimate connections. And I don't mean just sexual. When I say intimate, I mean deep. Yeah. Like this experience right now. Yeah. I would say there's intimacy between us. We met an hour ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's because you're sharing a lot of beautiful things, a lot of vulnerable things. And so anyway, so full zooming out. So we have our grandparents' generation where they stay in these maybe torturous even marriages because they're kind of
repressing yourself constantly or hiding parts of you.
And then
even to yourself.
So then we have a period of time, let's say 60, 80 years, something like that. Now we got Tinder, we got Bumble, we got OnlyFans, we got people don't give a fuck, quite literally. There's porn on Twitter, X or whatever you want to call it, which I don't have. But
me neither.
Like, so how did we took this, like, we have this huge age of like what seemed like repression, which is interesting. And then maybe we're at this point where it's so much pressure. It's like you shake up a champagne bottle, right? And then you open a little bit of light and that cork fucking pops off. Yeah. And now we have what seems like the pendulum swinging to the other extreme, which is maybe an over exaggeration, bearing ourselves maybe a little bit too much. And that's an open question I have. What is too much? Like, quite literally, I don't know. Like OnlyFans, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. I mean, if you've ever fucked with dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, you'll at least I would assume you get that stale feeling of just like surfing. I wouldn't
know either, so I truly have no
idea.
I'll
speak from my experience with dating apps.
I'm so sorry. I'm like, I cannot speak on that.
She's pure. She hasn't fucked with the grimy dating apps. But for me, it's like, it doesn't matter how many matches you get. It's like, it's kind of like cold and lifeless, and it doesn't have. You don't have to like put yourself out there, which is a part of dating. It's part of you like somebody, show it. Make a move. Maybe they'll reject you. Maybe it'll be a beautiful relationship, but you have to make that move. With dating apps, it's not. It's behind this guise of a screen, and it feels so lifeless and synthetic. And I don't know. I would say same with OnlyFans. And for me, and also shout out OnlyFans. I might be starting one, but don't tell anybody. But so there's like, again, sort of too much of, I guess, bearing the beauty of the human form, I think actually retracts from its value.
Went from repression to full expression.
Exactly. Yeah. To full expression.
Yeah. Where I think like we could do a little bit more in the middle, or like, I don't know, be more fully expressive with your soul for me instead of just your body. Yeah. You know, because to me, it's like when I see someone's like very expressive physically, it's almost like they're hiding something to me, and I want to know what you're hiding then.
Exactly. What are we compensating for? Yeah. And it's not just physical. It's like, am I compensating for the shame that I've been holding in my heart my entire life? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the thing. That's where I find, like, to be honest, like a lot of chicks hit me up and are like, why can I not find a guy like you? And it's like, honestly, I feel like because the masculine is predominantly so wounded, the heart is so closed.
Yeah.
And the masculine is unable to bear any sign of weakness, aka vulnerability, because it seems like we don't actually know the difference between weakness and vulnerability.
Yeah.
For me, vulnerability is a sign of strength, a sign of courage. It's a sign of a guy that you actually would want to be with. You know what I mean? But then we have so many men that keep that shame, fear, that doubt, that sense of lack just hidden away as if we could actually hide it.
Yeah.
But you can't actually. It's actually on display for people who actually can just tune into the subtleties. People who are not numbing themselves with reels and alcohol and just fucking porn and bullshit. And then it's, again, when you tune into the subtleties of people, you can see it. And you can see when that heart is being covered just habitually. And for me, it's like, I think a reason people really resonate with me is just the authenticity of like just being able to bear myself.
Well, and you know, that's like the highest frequency of what you can read coming from a human. It's not love. It's not hate. It's authenticity.
Right.
And to me, it's like because it stems from subconscious into conscious action, but without like that judgment or thought. So it is more of tied to your subconscious.
That's so interesting. Because so I have a lot of Zen Buddhist training.
Yeah.
And in Zen Buddhism, so I'm assuming most people aren't aware of it, but it's a whole modality of training the mind. It's not just meditation. It's not just you're learning about the philosophies of Buddhism.
Yeah.
Like the meals are so structured in the sense of when I did a retreat, the Roshi would have me pouring his soup for him, and he would have me pour it up to the absolute brim. And I'm not allowed to spill this, you know? And so he's like, keep going. And he's trying to get me to fuck up. And if I think about it, oh, don't fuck up. That's when you fuck up.
Yeah,
you know what I
Murphy's
mean?
Law.
So Zen training really is just don't second guess yourself. Just keep going. The second you're like, am I doing it right? Am I going to fuck up? That's when everything starts to lock up.
Yeah.
And shit actually gets fucked up. You're almost manifested shit not going your way.
Yeah.
By second guessing. When you're really in flow, things seem to just work, you know, like, and so it reminds
body in motion.
Exactly.
You know?
So what Zen is really trying to teach us from my lens is authenticity.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. Trust that even if it doesn't go perfectly, fuck it.
It's
even
okay.
Exactly. If I spill that soup, wah, wah, wah. Like, you know what's going to happen, really.
I can try again.
Exactly. And that's the thing. When we recognize that and we can really trust, that's when things tend to go our way, is what it seems like. And that's what authenticity is. Like, because how much of love in like spiritual circles can actually feel rather inauthentic.
Yeah.
When maybe what's being called for in a certain situation is actually anger or grief or someone bringing up conflict. You know, like what is, and that's what I think love and authenticity, or you could actually view it as one thing. Because when you're deeply authentic, it's because you're in love. And I'm not afraid. Yeah. I'm not afraid of what's coming out of me. I'm not afraid of what the world is going to bring me. And so we talked about this a little bit when we were getting coffee, but about our paths and the dark night of the soul. And you shared a little bit about yours. Yeah. And before we start to dive more into your story and kind of your transformation to who you are right now, I did want to, you asked me to share a little bit of my story. Yeah,
actually. I want to know a little bit about yours.
Yeah.
Please share.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start like
how do you get into, I guess, even going down that spiritual path?
Yeah. That's a great question. And so spirituality for me first started, I mean, I was like, average, dude living in the suburbs in upstate New York. And then I started to take psychedelics. And, first that kind of blew my fucking mind. And me and my friends would take way too many. It's like way too much acid, way too many mushrooms. Shout out Iggy in the park, out Powder Mills Park, upstate New York. Anyways. And for me, it actually led to quite a few openings over time. And then when I finally moved to Colorado, like, I'm still sort of in the normie lifestyle. Like I'm just in the stream of the, the world and the paradigm I'm living in. I haven't questioned things too deeply yet. Mm-hmm. Then I hit these waves when I moved from New York to Colorado, when I would eat a shit ton of psychedelics in the summer and go to music festivals, go to shows. I was super extroverted. People really liked me. And, then I would have these seasons of depression. And I guess what caused that, actually looking back, is all the trauma that I had growing up, where I was just like looking to get my head above water. And the psychedelics could do that for me, where I felt like, oh, I can finally breathe. I finally feel like I'm enough. Oh my God, this is amazing. And so that was my first taste of that. And so my conditioning when I was young, I mean, you know, everyone's childhood isn't great.
Yeah.
I'll just say, and I love my family now. Shout out my fam. But, you know, we were all dealing with different things when we were younger, you know, and my mom had a difficult time for various reasons, being overworked. I think, again, being a product of a patriarchal system, where she would, you know, cook the food, clean the house, take us to karate, take us to music lessons and sports, and also work a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then my dad was working. He was a professor at the University of Rochester. He was a resident doctor, and he was building his own company. He's studying Alzheimer's. So he's working like legitimately 16-hour days, 7 days a week. And that led to my theory is just my mom being overworked.
Yeah.
And Mom, I love you. If you ever see this, like, it's okay. I love you. And that's the thing. It's it made me who I am today. But my mom would have these fits of just rage. And like screaming at me and my brothers to the point I remember our dog would be like under the kitchen table shaking. Yeah. And like my mom would come home and me and my brothers would be watching TV and be like, oh shit, Mom's home. Like, what do we do? Do we go downstairs? Do we go outside? Do we go talk to her? I don't know. But she would just be just really all over the place emotionally. Yeah. And then my older brother too, he was just honestly kind of emotionally abusive. Like, and that's the thing. It's like when you're like, when you have siblings, I have 2 brothers. So my older brother just talking shit to me, like it seemed normal. It was just kind of always the way things are. And like, you know, that's what older brothers do. Yeah. But then when I was in this graduate program for psychotherapy, I was like, wait, having a brother say you're fat, ugly, nobody likes you consistently would have an impact. And I really didn't, I didn't want to even call it trauma. Because I was like, that's too much, that's too victim-y for me. Like, I'm not going to own that narrative. But when I started to actually be able to see it, I was like, oh, who I am is by default conditioned by these fucked up experiences. Yeah. And again, you're so young, you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to maneuver through it. Like when you're living with your parents as you're like a 13-year-old, bro, like you're kind of trapped. You know what I mean? So that led to a lot of darkness and a lot of me hating myself. Also, I have 2 parents that are MDs. My mom's a psychiatrist, my dad's a neurologist. So expectations were fucking off the chart from the get.
I can only imagine.
And like, again, so for my life, I always was just like, it's just how things are. And I was lucky enough to like really rise to the occasion. I mean, it took me a while of fucking around getting like, I never really liked alcohol. It just never really hit my body. I always like, when does this get fun? I was like, I always kind of hate the experience. Like I'm more anxious while I drink. I'm more anxious afterwards.
Good. I'm envious. I'm like, that sounds great.
But I did get hella addicted to weed. And I just got really
You'll have to tell me about that for you, like what that felt like.
Yeah, about being addicted to weed.
Yeah.
It was just anything to numb me. Anything to numb me from like the fact of my emotions being like, I don't know what's going on. I feel like everyone hates me. I feel like I'm a piece of shit. And then
that would just kind of like, all that would disappear. Sort
of for a period of time. And then there came a period of time, which I think actually happens with most consistent weed smokers, which is like your body just starts to reject weed. And you just get hyper paranoid. I don't like this. I just hate myself so much. The mind almost gets like fixated and hooked on like really painful things on weed. So that happened for quite a while. So I just had to cut the weed out. Anyways, that's a lot of where the darkness came from, this conditioning, and also just always feeling like an outsider. Always. I just didn't feel like accepted in elementary school, middle school, high school. I always felt like there was like you talked about sort of like a plastic wrap between me and other people. Yeah. Like I feel like completely separate. Yeah. And it just was so normalized for me that I didn't know anything else.
Do you still sometimes feel that way even when you're like now that definitely. You're not like
I definitely
utilizing drugs?
I know the feeling. At this point, I would say I feel a lot more able to like it's a very uncomfortable feeling for me at this point. Mm-hmm. I've become very aware and done quite a bit of work to like understand where that boundary came from. And again, it was in my mind actually. Yeah. And then be able to kind of see through it and remove it. Yeah. And now I feel like really connected with basically everyone. So when I do enter that state of disconnection, it's like cripplingly obvious because I'm just too sensitive at this point. Yeah. And that sensitivity is like, pros and cons to that because it was so painful, it like forced me to be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
and like to really inquire internally, and hence the path of meditation, Buddhism, Eastern philosophy, to start to understand the mind in a way that makes a difference.
Yeah.
And
like have more choice and power within your being.
Exactly. And I like got into yoga. I was like a big climber when I was in undergrad.
Okay.
And I started doing yoga classes at the climbing gym I went to.
Yeah.
And I really dug like the yoga teacher and just everything she was bringing, and it would help me when I would be in these periods of darkness. So I kind of had this introduction into Eastern philosophy, and then I hit these waves of like crippling depression, where I was like, I didn't know what was going on in my life. Like, what am I doing? What's worth investing time into? Because I had enough awareness to recognize what the Buddhists would call the wheel of samsara. Like, you work hard, you achieve something, you get the girlfriend, you get the money, you get the success, and then it all fades and you're back looking for something else to do it for you. And I was like, wait, if this is it, I'm done. I've had enough. Like, I'm over it already.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, is this really it?
Yeah.
And it started to really become very dark. And I also had all this just inner hatred for myself, this self-dialogue that was like, you're never going to be enough. You have these, this was unconscious, but these expectations set up in your family. Like, everyone in my family is like doctors, teachers, lawyers. And I was like, dude, I don't know what I want to fucking do. I know I don't want to be like a slave to this system. Yeah. It's like, early 2000s and shit. And I'm just like, dude, this culture.
Or maybe not like, experience what you did from your mom with your own kids later on. Totally. Like, I don't want to be like that either.
Well, that's the thing. I saw my parents and they were like hella successful. They're both doctors, Mm-hmm. And I just saw so much suffering. Dukkha. Dukkha is the Pali word. So much suffering. And I was like, wait, I don't give a fuck if you have the status and the success. I want to not suffer like that. Yeah. That seems like obviously the goal, right? Yeah. Like, have a better life. It doesn't matter about the accolades or the mental accomplishments. Who gives a fuck? Like, quite literally, it's in your head. Like, and this is an open question. I think what really drives this podcast and me is what leads to the optimal experience here. Yeah. How do we cultivate that? And where does it come from? And I think for me, Buddhism has been one of the best ways, as well as like exercise, good sleep, and not eating garbage food, to really improve the quality of your life, to understand how deep our stories go, even in nonverbal ways. Everything we're experiencing has a conceptual component. There could be never any experience ever that does not have a conceptual component. And all of these concepts are fluid, malleable, and constructed in your own mind. So at that point, can we start to deconstruct the concepts, narratives, and stories that we're holding on to about who I am, what happened in my past, aka trauma a lot of the time, what happens when we die, and what the world is? Where are we saying this story is really the real one? And can we recognize that they're all going to be stories? If we say science has the ultimate explanation about reality, recognize that that's a story. Yeah. And recognize also how limiting it is. If you think religion is the ultimate worldview, is the ultimate truth, I would just ask you to ponder about people living 5,000 years ago in this land that we're living in now, in North America, in the Amazonian rainforest. In the Ice Age, what world were they living in? Was God, the Christian God still around in the Ice Age? Or are we constructing these beautiful and maybe necessary belief systems? Because there's a necessity for something bigger than ourselves in the human psyche. And can we understand, again, just the depth that our stories go and how it affects our experience of ourselves? Yeah. I'm a loser. I'm never going to be successful. I'm not enough. I'm separate from others. Can we recognize that is due to us feeding a likely unconscious story? Yeah. And then what happens when we can start to dig up the stories that cause our torment and start to get to that ground of emptiness, which is one of the main teachings of Buddhism, is that there is no way that you are, there's no way that the world is, beyond your mind and how your mind is creating it through stories, narratives, beliefs, assumptions. And then so breaking down the shitty narratives, the painful, torturous stories, and rebuilding with stories that are not limited by notions of objectivity, by notions of there's one way that the world is and science says so. Really tuning into something really profound and deep, actually, which is your own creative impulse to choose and, again, creatively explore what stories, beliefs, and narratives will lead to the world that I want to experience. Yeah. And will lead to the sense of self that for me is empowered after feeling so small, so less than, so confused. How do I feel
or
empowered?
on a loop, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do I feel empowered and confident in who I am?
Yeah.
And that was where, it's a certain story that I just have to feed through my attention.
Yeah.
And stop focusing on all the stories that say, oh, you're less than, look at all the great people who are so much better than you. It's like, if you focus on that, it becomes real. And yes, you are going to be literally
you'll start living that way.
Literally,
you know?
literally. So that's the radicality of this understanding.
Justify it to your own being,
right?
Sadly.
So those are insights that I arrived through the Buddhist path. So just again, a little bit about my story. So life is kind of fucked in undergrad, just going in these big big waves up and down. And then I was like, bro, I can't keep doing this. I need to find some clarity. I need to do something drastic. So I saved up literally like $2,000. I was working at like a sushi place at this point in my life and like, you know, just finishing undergrad. And I traveled to Asia and I flew into Vietnam, like taught English for a minute and then just got a shitty like Walmart mountain bike basically and like rode that bike all the way to Hanoi. So yeah, Saigon to Hanoi, and it took me like quite a while actually. And I don't even ride bikes like that. I was just like, I need something like dramatically different and intense. And I didn't even, because it's humid as fuck in Vietnam.
Okay.
The chafing in my legs, I was like, bro, this sucks. Who does this for fun? I was like, I just had my pack strapped to my bike and it was just going to different cities, like would kind of just pop around, but I was still like depressed. And I remember I was like working at a hostel that did boat tours in Cat Ba Island, which is right off the coast of northern Vietnam. Super cool island, like huge party scene, a lot of foreigners, but I could not even enjoy it at all. And I'm in like one of the most beautiful places on the planet I've ever been, like crazy karst limestone, like monoliths coming out of the ocean, similar to Ha Long Bay. So I would do boat tours there like 3 days a week and have the rest of the time off. And all my friends were hitting me up on like Instagram saying, dude, I'm so jealous of you. You're living the life. And I was like, dude, this like still sucks because I'm still like in my mind. I can't enjoy any of it. I just fucking hate myself. And no matter what I'm doing, I'm never going to be enough. And so I was like, okay, right. It was like really torturous.
It's hard.
Stories.
It's like so hard when you're in those thoughts, you know?
Totally. And the way I found to get out of those thoughts in hindsight is actually to go directly into them, to like merge with them and allow them to be there. What if I'm never enough? Ooh, you know what comes up? Oh, and I'm never enough. Now what? Oh shit. And it's like, allow your body to actually just change your relationship to that feeling of being not enough. Like, what do you feel in your body? Contraction in the chest? You feel like low energy? What if it's okay to not be enough?
Yeah.
Right. Then where are we? All of a sudden things are totally chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. It's like, that's through a lack of familiarity, vulnerability, and intimacy with those stories.
Yeah.
And for me, like we talk, like I just, kind of laid out, we can start to change our narratives and stories about the world and ourselves that leads to a dramatic shift in our experience. And that's possible. But the only way to do that is actually to completely accept the stories that we have right now. It's sort of like, I get the image of like a Chinese finger trap. Like the more you pull, the more you resist, you're more like, no, I am enough. I am like, everything's fine. Everything's going to work out.
Let me out.
Exactly. You're actually pulling that
I'm
story.
saying it. Why aren't you letting me out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, so then the story actually gets tighter because you're resisting the narrative that's actually operating. And only when we can really merge with, open to, and love the story that we're living in right now, just as it is. Yeah. That's when the resistance lowers and we can, in a sense, retie what I call the knots in the psyche. It's like we have these knots, and the more that we pull and resist on a certain story, the more tight it gets, the more real it seems. Yeah. But again, it's all empty. This is still the void. So why do these stories seem so real? It's because we're resisting them so much, tightening them. So when we can start to love our story, love our life right now, just as it is, this is step one to creating heaven on earth from the inside out. And that's something I really know is real and possible for every person. But
because you've lived it.
Exactly, I've lived it. And that's the thing. People see me now and they think, oh, he's just been like this pretty extroverted, like hella deep person his whole life. I'm like, no. You saw me 5-6 years ago and saw me now, you'd be like, what the fuck happened to this dude? Yeah. Like quite literally, what happened to him? And that's what I'm trying to teach is what happened.
Do you experience that a lot from people that you've known in your younger formative years? Like,
yeah, no. So a lot of my friends, like from high school and even undergrad, like I'm so radically different. And that's the thing. I can't even really, it's kind of sad. I wouldn't I'm not losing sleep over it, but I can't really relate to them in the same way.
Yeah.
It's like I've made so much progress and came to so many like really profoundly transformative insights that are not just in the mind, they become the world you're walking through. And at that point, you change fundamentally. And for me, it's what I'm teaching is, again, absolutely all of our stories are made up. And these stories, they're not just in your mind. The world you're experiencing is a story.
Yeah.
The self that you're experiencing is a story. Death is a story.
Yeah.
Okay. And these stories,
every experience that we have here is essentially a story already.
Exactly. You can never have an experience without a story. I repeat, you can never have an experience without a story. And all of those stories are going to be equally made up in your mind. Equally. Yeah. And that's the thing. So then we have the radical
evolution
power.
Came from us sharing our stories with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And there's something profoundly beautiful about our stories. But this is the primary delusion that Buddhism talks about, which is the root cause of our suffering is you're believing that the world is real. You're believing that what you experience is real. And this seems so fundamentally like counterintuitive because you're like, wait, it's happening. What do you mean this isn't real? What do you mean I'm not real?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you actually pay close attention, you can see that your sense of who you are, your sense of what the world is, could never be separate from the mind that is viewing those stories. Yeah. And those stories can be anything. And what allows for that? How can we all be living in radically different worlds? Because there is no objective world here. We're all living in different ones and choosing certain stories, beliefs, narratives to inhabit. Mm-hmm. Literally. And for instance, if you say there is no God, if you're like a devout atheist, great, there isn't. You made it like that. Yeah. And if you say there is a God, you're in any certain belief system or you're spiritual and you do specifically rituals. When you pray, we are constructing something that is receiving that, listening and actually answering. They come together. So this is the power of prayer, ritual, devotion. You need to feed the gods for them to be real. And when I say you feed them, the stronger that they get through your prayer and just consciously calling on them, the more that they can touch you back and really impact your life. Where when you call on them, you feel that strength, that courage,
the connection,
that love,
that you're bonding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And recognizing that these narratives of divinity are just that, they're narratives. And they're constructs. And we are constructing this world right now. We're constructing divinity. We're constructing notions of reality. And some of those narratives lead to expansion, lead to connection, empowerment, connection to the divine. Yeah. Letting that energy flow through you. When you pray and you know you're being answered, it changes how you operate.
Oh, yeah.
When you know that you're loved and you will always be, it changes how you operate. And that's, again, a certain story and a narrative that we're choosing to feed. And that's the thing. So when we recognize that, we recognize we can be anybody and live in any world. It's the ultimate skeleton key. That's what I really say. The ultimate truth is that there is no objective truth. Again, the ultimate final truth is that there could never be any objective truth.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're free. You're free. Again, it's a skeleton key that opens the mind. A permission slip that allows you to try on any sense of self, any sense of world, no matter how enchanted or far out, you get to try it on. And given we don't necessarily want to disconnect from consensus reality all the time, because then we're losing connection, you know? Yeah. So we don't want to be that crazy hippie who's talking to nothing on the side of the road. Obviously, mental illness is a big thing, but we want to maintain our ability to stay in consensus reality while still playing with deeply enchanting and enriching narratives, realizing that no matter how many people believe a certain narrative, it's still an empty narrative always. Yeah. And at that point, again, who do I want to be? And then I just woke up and was like, who am I? And this is the path of self-inquiry in Eastern traditions, where you can get to complete moksha or nirvana, complete liberation, through just inquiring in who you are and recognizing that you will never find an answer to that, because what you are is void. We're constructs, constructed in the mind. And when we're void, the void is not nothingness. The void is actually pregnant with infinity. Yeah. The absence of any solid delineation
means possibility.
Exactly. It means it's open to any possibility. Yeah. And that's when you can chill in the void and recognize I am simultaneously nothing and everything. Almost like I am zero and infinity simultaneously. Yeah. Then nothing is off limits. and you get to choose who you are.
And I think knowing like that label to me doesn't matter whether I am 0 or infinity, because I'm all in both, you know?
Totally.
So experience versus like fixating on that.
And so that's the thing too. I want to say something about the nature of the human mind, which is that when we're living in egoic identification, which means I'm this small form, that ego, that sense of self, that identity is looking for stability and solidity. And since it's looking for certainty, it's like the world's like this, it's not like that.
Yeah.
And it will say that because it needs ground to stand on.
Yeah.
If everything is groundless, that implies that the
ground
ego
is built on validation.
Exactly. So the solid self is constructed on a solid ground.
Mm-hmm.
When we get rid of the solid ground, we pull the rug out of the ego, and that actually is a death experience for the ego.
Yeah.
Which is why people resist groundlessness. Because their sense of self being so solid needs solidity to match it. And when we're in an experience of groundlessness, the ego is also groundless and void. But actually, I look at it as sort of a process of letting the eyes sort of adjust to emptiness. Mm-hmm. It's not inherently uncomfortable. And when your eyes adjust, you're like, wow, this is clearly the place to be, is to be floating in groundlessness of like, I'm not specified. I'm not a person. I'm not a human being. I'm not necessarily Ben. I'm not even life. I'm not even real. I'm not applying any of those empty narratives because I realize they're all empty.
Yeah.
And we can play with them, but recognize that they're made up. And that's where we're free. And for me, that's what it gave me permission to be the person that you see today. Yeah. Which is radically different than the wounded, traumatized individual of like 7-8 years ago. And it's awesome. It's been this like process of really like trusting. Yeah. And trusting myself and like learning that I can trust, really just trust. I can trust what is coming through me. I can trust the thoughts in my mind, the way I want to speak, the way I want to move, the way I want to operate. Because there's no real you.
Well, and most people I meet like you that are like that, very authentic and genuine and just kind of like so truly their own flavor. They've been through a spiritual experience, you know, and they're willing to talk about it and share it and like look at it.
What does spiritual experience mean for you?
For me, I would say like really facing the pain.
Boom. I'm so glad you put it down like that. Because I think that's a big part of
that's how it feels, you know?
Yes. Because like we, in this love and light style of spirituality a lot of the time, which again is not all spirituality, obviously. But I think it's, especially in Boulder, very prevalent. Where it's like, oh, it's not love and light, you're not deeply open and connected. That's not spirituality. Yeah. And we need to learn how to honor the darkness. When I say honor the darkness, I mean the shit that makes you not want to be here. The confusion, the isolation, the loneliness, the anxiety, the worry, the fear, what happens when we die, that darkness.
Even that, like for me, one of the most debilitating that I felt was just like the lack of motivation when I first went sober and being like, oh my God, like I know I should want to go for a hike or eat good food, but like I don't even feel like doing that. And then I was listening to this lady one day talk and she was like, oh, like you're not ever going to feel like motivated just sitting there. It's not going to just come and hit you. Yeah. Like you have to get up and run to find it. And I was like, holy shit, like she's right. Like I can't just sit here. And then now like I hear people in programs say like you can't think your way into a new way of being, but you can act your way into a new way of thinking.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on your story again because I think it is really beautiful. But
Thank
what you said was just kind of a banger. In the sense of, so say that quote again, actually.
So you can't think your way into a new way of acting, but you can act your way into a new way of thinking.
Interesting. It makes me think of something I was listening to today from this Dharma teacher, Rob Berbea. Shout out, Rob. Made me who I am. If you're into Dharma, check him out. Yeah. But he would say that insights into reality, for instance, insights into yourself, they atrophy if we don't use them.
Yeah.
And we need to, if we recognize that we're all one, maybe somebody has a big mushroom opening or something in breath work and they're like, oh, it's obvious, we're all one. And you actually have to, if you were really all one, if this place was all unified, how would you act? How would you treat people? and you have to act from that place of the insight, and that actually helps to consolidate and make real that insight where you're like, oh, because we're all one, I'm going to live my life in service to creation. Great. You've actually solidified that story. And that's the thing, when we live in a separate, isolated experience, everyone is just looking out for themselves or their immediate family or whatever, just trying to amass as much money as possible, amass as many fun experiences as possible. When you act from that place of really selfishness, what's it doing? It's strengthening the separate, egoic experience of self.
Yeah,
it's
you're going to feel
selfish.
isolated. You're going to get isolation back.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it brings me to this notion of selflessness. So selfishness, when you're acting in a selfish way, you're strengthening this experience really of an isolated, separate ego, which is going to make life harder.
Which validates that experience even more when it's
Exactly.
occurring,
So it's like a
which
feedback
sucks.
loop. It's a feedback loop, and it's kind of like a cramp. Where the more we contract around this solid, separate sense of self we call the ego, the more we act in service to it. Because that ego can never have enough. It's small. It's contracting. It's trying to be big.
Yeah.
So I need more money. I need more bad bitches. I need more dope vacations. And that's just, again, a product of contraction. And that's the thing. When you can lean into that selfless way of being, again, so in the absence of any solid self, you're full of everything. This is talked about in Christian path, in the Buddhist path, no self. That's where you want to be. Because when you're absent of any tight, separate experience of self, aka the ego, you're full of all of creation.
Yeah.
Because there's no separation. And that's the thing. Selflessness is not just for the sake of somebody else or the world. It's a win-win-win kind of situation. It's good for you.
Yeah.
It's good for other people.
And
it's
domino effect.
Exactly. And that's almost like it's a feedback loop in the other direction. Instead of into deeper contraction and tightness and like separation.
Yeah.
It's a feedback loop of I feel better when I give a little bit, when you smile, when you open the door for somebody. And how does it feel to give my whole life to something that I love? To give my whole life to something deeply meaningful to creation? It feels amazing. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing with my path. That's what you're doing with your path. And so, yeah, that was a really dope riff, but I want to bring it back to your story, which was, okay, so you ended up having a really difficult childhood, being taken from your parents, living with your grandparents. That was weird. They didn't sleep in the same bed. And, and then you ended up then you ended up getting addicted to various substances.
Yeah, I moved out. I grew up in Lyons, right up the road, and moved to Boulder when I graduated the summer of high school, and I was 17. And I moved out. They were going through their divorce, and it was getting kind of bad, and they were like, could you just not come home anymore? And I was like, okay. And I had a job in restaurants starting when I was 12, so I like always had that to fall back on, and like was really good at making my own money, and just liked being out of the house too, because I didn't have to deal with being at home. So yeah, I moved out in my little Honda, had like 9 of those Sentence dairy milk containers, the plastic square ones. And that's what I had all like my clothes and shoes and like probably my 2 favorite books with me. And I like couch surfed and was just working in restaurants. And then I started partying a lot, and that was not good for me. Yeah.
Why?
I think I was just already kind of naive and like very overstimulated and searching already for like connection and maybe purpose. And then that took me down like not the good side of it for me. I would say for anyone, but for me specifically, not good. Yeah.
I agree with you. And I think it makes me think of this concept of hedonism, or the hedonic or eudaimonic kind of way of relating to life, where hedonism is you're seeking sense pleasure. I want the crazy vacations, the dope food, the dope sexual experiences, the whatever. It's like it's all just sense pleasure basically. In Buddhism they say sense pleasure, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like so shallow when you could have insane depth from other means. And then you have eudaimonia, the eudaimonic lens, which actually is seeking deep purpose and meaning. And that's the thing. That's through sacrifice, that's through devotion, that's through commitment to your path. And that's the thing. When we just think about the deep fulfillment and meaning we can get when we, again, commit to something we're really passionate about in this world, whether it's a person, a lifestyle, a job, the meaning that we can extract from that versus just sense pleasure versus, dope orgies and amazing vacations and cool experiences. It has a place, but the depth, the meaning, and the ability to cultivate like peace and fulfillment isn't even close.
Yeah, it feels so minor.
Exactly.
So
it's not even
minor.
close. It's just so shallow. And we just need to recognize the limit of sense pleasure.
And it's like physical versus like spiritual,
Exactly.
like the soul.
And that's where this notion of re-enchanting the cosmos comes in with what I teach, with what I really want to bring, which is like the fulfillment and meaning we can get by inhabiting and consciously choosing stories that invoke meaning and depth shits on sense pleasure. If I'm just living in this lifeless, flat experience of the world, and I'm just going to chase money and vacations and whatever, like, it's so shallow. It's like, yes, we can do that, but do we recognize there's another path that is much more fulfilling? And that's the thing. People actually don't know that.
I know, it's mind-blowing. And we didn't know that too,
Until we had these dark night of the soul type experiences and we got broken open. So I want to give you a chance to explain
I love that you said that, because it does feel that way.
Right, exactly. And that's what they say in depth psychology is the darkness, it breaks you.
Yeah.
And it breaks you open to soul, to spirit, to actually goodness. And this is where, again, the image and metaphor of the Christ being crucified, I think is so poetic, where it's one of the most painful experiences a human being could have, being crucified alive, as a means of actually opening you to a deeper dimension, a deeper relationship to God and to love. Yeah. Because I think at a certain intensity, pain and love, they have the same flavor, actually. And it's again, the purpose of that pain is actually to open your heart, recognizing the more I resist my pain, the more I am constructing and amplifying my suffering. So if I can learn to open and actually love pain, it's like counterintuitive. It's like loving and accepting the unacceptable. If I can somehow do that, then everything opens up. Yeah. Because the suffering gets drained out of all of the pain. And all of a sudden, wait, this is not that bad. And wait, maybe this is the kingdom of God right now. If I can actually just learn to open to all of it and not create these dualities and these resistances and the push and pull, if I can just open to what's coming through me and coming to me, then all of a sudden things look pretty damn good. Yeah. Because the heart's open.
Yeah. And they do go good and they feel good,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's the thing.
So that's like the huge difference. Like sometimes, I don't know. I like the way you said cracked open, though. That resonated hard for me. And I agree. I love pain. Like,
me
it
too.
just feels like we had talked about, kind of like a catalyst for me and like a direction pointer. And I always feel like I'm growing or learning in that, whereas like comfort is like, you probably get this way too. Like I almost feel like restless in comfort because I'm like, I'm kind of bored or things are like feeling mundane or I'm on a good routine and that feels good, but it's good to feel the pain.
And I would say the dominant psychological paradigm would say, oh, let's heal that. Let's make sure that you can feel good and just relax. When depth psychology, on the other hand, again, influenced by Carl Jung, would say, actually, there's not a problem with that. Yeah. Something is actually telling you, don't stop. Don't get too cozy right now. And it makes me think of the Grateful Dead line, too. When life looks like easy street, there's danger at your door. And maybe it's my trauma when I was growing up. But again, I wouldn't reduce it to just that story. Who knows? Maybe there are spirits, angels coming through us that are asking things from us that only we can, be directed towards from pain. Yeah. And that's an equally valid story. And what's the impact of holding that when I am being beckoned by the angels themselves to act in a certain way, to feel like I'm not enough? Because in the eyes of the angels, the diamonds, I'm not. And you need to and this is a different style of relating to existence that the current psychological paradigm is not pushing. Yeah. They're like, let's heal you. My question has always been, what the fuck does it look like when we're fully healed? Like, quite literally, has anyone imagined that goal? Is it the kingdom of heaven? We're just chilling, someone's playing a harp, and like, I think God's like passing around spliffs. Like, literally, what is healing?
To me,
like,
that just sounds not good, because again, where's the pain factor? Am I dead? Like, I'm not growing anymore? Where's
the depth?
Am I just stagnant? Like,
and that's the thing.
That's like a plant like just stuck at one height forever and in one flower phase.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
And that's the thing. Actually, in depth psychology, they say that your soul wants to suffer, actually.
Yeah.
Because it adds dimensionality to life. It adds depth. It adds direction.
Mhm.
What has given you direction in your life, if you look back, has been your suffering.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. When shit's chill, we're just chilling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need some struggle to push me in the right direction and to show me what's really good. And I would not be the person I am today, who I am stoked to be,
Yeah.
if I was not like legitimately crippled by pain for a significant period of my life.
Yeah.
And that brings me to, again, this dark night of the soul. And like what you said about true spirituality being sort of involving pain always. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even though, you know, some people will say love and light is true spirituality. I think we need to honor the dark gods.
Yeah.
And in so many dualistic religions, there's a light and there's a dark.
How would you know light if you're not having dark?
Right.
You know, to me, that's like,
Exactly.
no.
And then for me also, can we recognize the value of the darkness? It's like almost like a firm parent. Like life will just fuck you up sometimes. Like you lose people you care about, your girlfriend cheats on you, you lose your job, you're homeless. Like shit. Maybe this is like a wake up call. Maybe
love.
It's exactly. It's like your mom is like, I care about you, so I'm gonna slap you in the right direction. Figure your shit out and get it fucking together.
Yeah, you're not gonna experience this out in the real world and have no clue what to do
and
be
love.
reacting. You know,
so that's love too. And I think again, especially in spiritual circles, we get this notion of love being something soft. It's very maternal, and absolutely we need that like all encompassing, everything's okay, you can never mess up kind of love. But also we need that love that is, in my perspective, more masculine, more paternal,
stable, and like able to hold
and to give direction.
You know,
like the symbol of the masculine is the arrow, right? The feminine is the cross. So that's that love, right? That all-encompassing love and warmth from the feminine, which is necessary.
Yeah,
you know, that's holding the space. And then the role of the masculine is like, okay, if your son is just like jacking off in the basement, smoking weed, tell him to get the fuck out and get a job. You know what I mean? And literally, that's love.
Yeah.
Because guess what? If your kid is 17 and just jacks off and plays video games, life's going to be pretty fucking hard for them.
Well, and they're clearly bored and looking for some kind of experience, you know?
Exactly.
They're trying to soothe in some way.
That's a beautiful perspective, exactly. And that's the thing. How many of our addictions are trying to fill that void?
Yeah.
Instead of listening to the messages in the darkness. And so that's the thing. I think there's a place for recognizing that direction and even some difficulty and discomfort can be another face of love.
Yeah.
And another face of God. And it's like a gift. I read some poem where it's like we're given these gifts from the angels, from spirit itself, and that those gifts are the darkness. And we turn away from them and we say, no, not me, why me? And then in hindsight, I'm like, thank fuck. I feel so unbelievably blessed to be given that darkness, to learn how to navigate that. And that's the thing. What happens when we can turn to darkness, when we can stop resisting the darkness and thus amplify our experience of suffering around the darkness?
And then it becomes a lightsaber for your whole life.
Literally, because again, when you're not resisting the darkness in the same way, the suffering associated with it fades because I'm not resisting it.
Yeah.
It's like when I can open
you kind of kill the fear, which kills a lot of negativity surrounding it, you know?
And it becomes just messages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, get your shit together, go
Data,
in this direction.
Information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I say, and that's the thing, one spiritual teacher said, the problem is not the dream. The problem is that you like one part of the dream and not the other part. I like the love. I don't like the grief that comes with the love when it ends, which all love does, because everything is simultaneously dying.
You wouldn't get to have grief if you didn't experience love.
Right. And can we allow that? You know what I mean? Because so many people experience that grief of being like left either by a primary caregiver, by a partner or whatever. And thus the heart is just like calloused and like covered over, and I actually don't know how to open it again. Yeah. And thus, and I work with a lot of clients that have this issue, which is like, I can't like feel life in the way that I want to because the heart is closed. Yeah. It's a trauma response. And the only way to open it up is actually to become intimate with that pain, to listen to the messages that the heart is telling you to listen to. Yeah. And then you can just open and bloom again. Because again, we need to integrate experiences. If your heart has been stabbed, you know, metaphorically, emotionally speaking, then, you know, it's a good thing to maybe close the heart for a second. That sounds like pretty smart and protective of myself, you know? And then to integrate that experience of how do I make sure that doesn't happen again? What do I need to know about certain styles of people, where they're at, certain behaviors, in order to ensure that that doesn't happen? And the only way to do that is through like critical reflection and being intimate with that pain. And once you're intimate with it and you listen to what it's trying to tell you, that's when the heart feels safe enough to open again.
And being, like honest with myself, like I'd say there's definitely times where it was like with substances, I was always trying to like numb a thought or be like hide it away because I was like, it scared me. And like we're saying, like once I was able to stop numbing it and just embrace it, it was like I got all the rewards from that fear,
Right.
And that's crazy.
The fertility of that darkness.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of, have you ever heard of internal family systems therapy? So IFS therapy is kind of parts work. So in this style of therapy, we actually separate ourselves from all of our parts. So we have a part of us that is a people pleaser, for instance. We have a part of us that is a overworker. We have a part of us that is addicted to whatever. And actually we start to separate ourselves from this, like, for instance, addicted part. We start to talk to it. And we start to be like, what do you want to tell me? And with addiction, or really any part, you'll actually find that a lot of the time they're trying to protect you. They're like, yeah, there's something, whether it's shame or lack or guilt, that feels too overwhelming to the being. And thus this part comes online to protect you from feeling that. I feel so much less than other people. And this part's like, just drink a bottle of whiskey a night and you'll be good. And, these parts are usually very young. So we develop them as a means of keeping us from this thing that feels completely untouchable, which would be maybe that lack. Yeah. But actually, as long as we're not in contact with that lack, for instance, we can't heal it because it's always just out of reach. It's out of sight. You're not going to feel it. So the work in that style of therapy is actually to, again, contact those wounded parts. Okay. Contact these parts that are trying to protect you. Listen to them. Like, for instance, addiction. It can be like, yeah, I'm just trying to protect you from feeling like you're not enough. Mm-hmm. And when you listen to it, the part actually starts to trust you. And these protectors can step aside. And then you can contact the primary wounded part, which could be that sense of lack or I'm a failure. Those are pretty popular stories that we have in our culture today. And when you can contact that experience, that means feel it, like fully. That means you're not looking away anymore. You're looking directly in the eyes of this, you could call it a demon. And I don't mean that in a negative sense, but a daimon is a Greek word that means actually messenger from God. And different relationship to that very similar word, which is interesting. But when I like that. Isn't that cool? Yeah. And when we can actually listen to our pain, when we can listen to, for instance, for me, it was like I got cheated on by the first girl I was really interested in high school. Like, she led me on for years, and I like took her to prom, and I look over at the prom party and she's making out with my friend from the football team, and not one of my friends had my back, not one of them. And I went home, and I remember I just sobbed in my basement, and my dad, who was working 16 hours a day, just came down and like held me, and he said nothing. And I still haven't talked to him about that. That was like when I was like 16 or some shit. And I was just sobbing, and my dad was just holding me, and he didn't say anything. But like, so that kind of darkness, that's the last thing I want to tap into, because feeling embarrassed, emasculated, less than, worthless, humiliated. Yeah. Painful shit.
And disconnected. I'm so different than everyone else in such a negative way, you know?
And that shit was so painful for me. That's, I think, what led to a lot of that depression, was just this dissociation from what was trying to come through me and speak to me. Is like, look at that experience. Look at how that changed you. Look at, can you hold that darkness? Can you honor that? And I couldn't at that point. And that's what led to the dissociation and the numbness and the depression. Yeah. And it was only when I could open to that grief, to that pain, which was like crushing. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't just that experience, other experiences, specifically with the feminine, which is interesting for me, being the person that I am today. Yeah. But it was through, again, contacting all that pain that I could actually alchemize it and integrate it and be free of it. Only will you be able to be free of your trauma through contact. There's no other way. I agree. Letting that light of an open heart, that love, that healing capability that we all innately have when the heart is open to compassion, warmth, acceptance. You're okay as you are. You're okay as you are when you're wounded. Yeah. Even you're okay as you are when you're traumatized. It's okay. That love, that is healing. And it took me, actually, because I didn't even have a therapist or whatever. It was just, I had no choice. It was so haunting in my psyche that eventually it just led to this break. while I was in India, actually.
Okay.
And it was like this part of me that was like, I need to figure out this depression thing. I don't know what's up. Like my girlfriend of 4 years had left me right before, because I was just hopelessly depressed. I couldn't take care of her, be there for her. And so that was kind of fucked. I just graduated from undergrad and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, environmental science was my major. But I was like, this is basically just working on computers. I wanted to be outside. I was like, I don't want to do this. The money's not great. Fuck. I was like, what do I do? And I had this crazy analysis paralysis. And yeah, that's what led me to India, and just having all this unfelt grief and just feeling like a shell of a human being. Because at this point I was like predominantly like 80% of my waking life was dissociated. Okay. And like I couldn't speak to other people. I couldn't like open up. I remember people would speak to me and I literally had no idea what they said, because I would be just so gone.
Were you just like eating, working, sleeping, and like not?
Dude, I was like sleeping. I remember like 16 to 18 hours a day just in my bed. And I was like not going to class. I barely passed and graduated my last semester in undergrad. And
it's impressive that you did.
Dude, I don't know. Because
how?
I couldn't move. I had so much self-hate.
Yeah.
And just recognizing that's exhausting to hate yourself like that. Because it's just like all day my mind was just like saying and like feeling all these ways. Just I hated myself, and that takes a lot of work. Yeah. So it was like I was just drained. I couldn't do shit. And so yeah, really dark. And I remember in India, I didn't have the money. So I was in lockdown in India in 2020.
Oh,
which is
okay. So it's
very trippy.
Yeah.
And like very serendipitous, actually. But I was at an ashram in the foothills of the Himalayas, like a few kilometers north of Rishikesh, one of the holy cities up north. And I didn't have enough money to stay there, but like we couldn't leave because the whole country was on lockdown. So I was like, can I do a work exchange? Can I help you with any of the construction projects you're doing? And they were building a hospital for the adjacent mountain communities in like rural India. So I was like, can I just help you with this construction project? And they were like, yeah, for sure. And they would like give me food and let me stay there. So I remember I was like just moving pipes or some shit one day, like scaffolding. And my dad at this point was like begging me to come home. Because he was like, we don't know if this COVID thing is going to get worse. We don't know. Like, I don't want you to be stuck in rural India if the world's ending. And I'm like, yeah, but like, and I'm stubborn. And I'm like, I still haven't found this enlightenment thing. And I'm not leaving without that, because my life is not worth living. Going back home. It's just not. And I was like, what do I do? Like my girlfriend, I don't have a girlfriend. All my friends like graduated and live elsewhere. Like I can't even hold a job. Am I just going to like work at a gas station or some shit? Like, because I'm just a shell of a person.
Why go back?
Exactly.
If that's all I'm looking at.
So I had this deep internal conflict of like, what do I do right now? Do I go back or do I stay here and risk it? And like, it was just such a conflict. And eventually it was like, I remember I was moving these pipes and something snapped in me. And again, literally broke. It felt like I was holding so tight for who knows how long. And something just opened. Yeah. And it was like, if I have to be a loser the rest of my life, if I'm just living dissociated and depressed, fuck it. I can't keep doing this. I don't have the energy for this. Yeah. And it's again so paradoxical, so counterintuitive, is when I could open to my pain directly as it is, how fucked my mind was as it was. That was the only way that it started to get better. And this was a process, and it was such a deep snap for me. I still feel like I'm feeling like the aftershocks of it now, like the repercussions. It's like, I would say, and the insights that came actually from that deep letting go were profound and made me who I am, and led to this incredible sort of transformation personally for me. And again, so it's like those insights, that understanding of what does it actually mean to let go? What does that mean? It's actually not as simple as it sounds. And starting to let that insight mature, as far as it's so fucking simple, but so hard to practice, which is if you let go, things get better. If you hold on, things get trickier, a lot more suffering, a lot more edginess. So it's that simple. But again, it's one thing to say it. And for me, I needed to be broken open by so much like internal, existential, personal angst. So much darkness that was like, we're going to crack this motherfucker wide open. Get ready for this. The angels are like, check this out. We're going to fuck this kid up. And I'm so thankful they did, because they broke me wide open. And now I could never go back, actually. And I actually had that insight. Like I could not end up depressed again. Because I understand the mechanisms of mind that create that experience of depression. Right. Just resistance. Yeah. Period. To something. You know what I mean? Same with anxiety. Some sort of resistance to probably a story in your head about the future.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't resist the stories in your head, if you say that they're okay no matter what happens, anxiety actually cannot manifest.
Yeah, it makes me think of like asking yourself a question instead of saying like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's how like anxiety feels to me,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Exactly. And I mean, even anxiety is an experience with a message. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, can I listen to it?
Yeah.
Because when I listen, actually, that's openness
instead
of resistance. And so I want to go to your dark night of the soul. So again, this period of time you're addicted to alcohol primarily. Mm-hmm. Was it other hard drugs?
I didn't get addicted to anything else, thank God. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is the one that I did. And for me, I didn't drink a lot when I was growing up, and I was always into like sports and stuff. So I'd say after I moved out, I did like uppers like Molly and ecstasy and Adderall, like Coke.
Shit.
I don't think I liked Adderall, but Adderall I don't know if that's from having the meth in my system.
Oh,
because it made me more like relaxed, and I think that's
Adderall made you more relaxed. That's
and I think that's general because like one of my friends would take it and be like, and I was like, I'm ready to go to sleep.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's got to be because it's like a few components different than meth.
It's the same thing. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. My body's just used to it. Got a tolerance.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. For me, the first time I tried Adderall, I would take it with my homies and go play filthy basketball. And like, because I was like, yo, extreme. I shit on everybody when I just take a 20 milligram Adderall. Like, I'm just going to, dominate. Yeah. But it's so interesting to me. I think just prescription drugs and just how fucked up a lot of them are for the human body. Like Adderall, we're giving kids like 60, 80 milligrams of fucking Adderall when they're like 8 years old. What the fuck? I think or Xanax,
and so okay for that quick fix, but not to be like, okay, what, like you and I talked about how I kind of like experimented on myself. Like, okay, what do I notice when my kid eats this food and does this activity, how it's affecting them, you know? And like, to me, if you're going to be a parent, you have that duty. It's an honor to be able to like do that for your kid, you know? But there's so many people here that don't even do that for themselves. How would they know to do that for their kid?
That's the thing. It's like a rising tide sort of raises all ships, as they say. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we need, I mean, especially as parents, when you're caring about somebody else who you deeply love. Yeah. Like it's like you're being forced to elevate your awareness. Are you going to fall into, again, video games, jacking off in Pizza Hut? Or, you know what I mean?
Some tough love and growth.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Some tough love and growth. Looking yourself in the mirror and being like, I would love to scroll on Reels until like 12:30 in the morning, but I'm actually going to go to bed at like 9.
Being honest that this kid is going to be out in the world and like,
right.
I don't know about you, but for me, I felt like I did experience almost like a culture shock when I moved out, you know, like of what was put into my head versus what actually happened.
About like worldviews and about the way the world works. Like,
and like your responsibilities and like how to move about and like a cohesive functioning way.
And that's what kids
and considering other people, not just you. Like I felt it took me a long time to realize how like conditioned to be selfish I was and only think about myself.
Totally. And that's the thing. I look at selfishness as a disease. If everyone's only looking out for themselves, oh shit, I guess I have no support here and I might as well look out for myself.
Yeah.
We're a product of everybody else. That's where it takes people courageous enough really to open their own hearts and say, hey, maybe it's not all about me. I'm going to live in service to something beyond myself, whether there's other people or creation as a whole. And again, when you have that open heart, that tends to spread like a disease. When more people are giving, you're like, oh, I guess it's safe here. I guess I can open my heart too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We're making a choice every day. Choose, am I going to close my heart and live in this, I mean, the Buddhists would call a delusional experience of self. Just thinking, oh, I'm just this story called Ben and this human form. That's all that I am and will ever be. Are you sure you want to live in that story? Because there's other ones that are a lot more appealing. And we don't have to settle. And can we, again, trust and have courage and open that heart and give without the expectation of receiving? Because that's going to make other people around you more comfortable to give as well. And it makes me think of something like Burning Man, which is a crazy festival where there's no money.
You went, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been the past 2 years.
How do you like it?
I fucking love it. I mean, I'm also crazy
I
with
get
the
really
festivals.
overstimulated, so I'm like, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I would want to go for even like an hour to walk through and then back out.
That's what a lot of people say because it is so intense, but you can always just go to your RV and chill. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And like, there's a lot of chill
Get
spots.
your social battery plugged back up and
Like,
then go.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, there's little tea lounges. Like, again, it's, I don't know.
like
After
that.
being in the festival scene for a while, like, there's definitely shitty festivals. And those are the ones that are, well, what I would call shitty music. But everyone, different strokes for different folks. But also, no places to chill. There's none of that yin energy. And it's like, if you want to live and have
just
a good
chaos,
time, just chaos. And I'm like, I need some yin energy. I need like chill locations, chill spots. And a lot of festivals do have those.
Okay.
But I mean, with the burn, it is like really intense. But you got to just, adapt to that and really tune into your body. What do I need? Yeah. Regardless of what all my friends do. And yeah, there's a sweet set being played, but what do I need?
Well, and you probably get to experience such a range of emotion and feeling and seeing. Like, wow.
Yeah, no, exactly.
In a small amount of
time. The full spectrum human experience at the burn.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately we are running out of time and we didn't even get to go to the deepest, richest part of this conversation. No, it's not. We had, I think this was an incredible conversation. Too easy to talk to. Yeah, and we could keep talking, and I would actually love to do another podcast where we can kind of pick up where we left off. But so we're just actually getting to Shaena's Dark Night. Yeah. We're gonna have to, I guess, leave it as a cliffhanger for now. Okay. But Shaena, should we let them know that it ends well, at least?
Yeah, it does all end well.
And now, so just to give yourself a little plug too, what you're doing is kind of focusing your own energy, your path into service. Yeah. And giving back with something that's been so meaningful to you, which has been holistic health and nutrition. Right? Yeah. And so you were able to, we'll just say briefly without getting into details, alchemize that darkness to make it serve you. Yeah. Actually, which is a possibility for everyone. And now you're in this place of giving, which is, again, a lifelong path, which leads to enrichment and fulfillment. Yeah. And I just want to give you a chance to kind of plug what you're doing right now with health.
Yeah. So I do, I work with clients for like 6 months and we do gut microbiome resets. And first we dive into the gut and then I kind of help them dive into areas of lifestyle, which includes like physical health, anything introduced in their body from like throughout the day, whether that's like makeup for women, products you're using, it all affects. And it's important because I want my mental health to be the best, my mind. So.
And just recognizing again how important gut health is. I was actually really stoked to talk about that with you because I don't know that much about it.
Oh, it's just like I said, to me, they're one and the same, like your brain and your gut, which is like feeding all the messages to our brain. Right. So why wouldn't I make sure that I'm coding everything properly to go upstairs properly?
And that's the thing for me, like shit really started to change when I just ate whole foods. Yeah. Not bullshit. Yeah. Just look at the look at the ingredients list. If there's 50 ingredients on there, why are we eating that?
Don't eat it.
If you've seen strange chemicals in your food, that's not food. I'm just saying. And if
it doesn't have like much of any like living attachment to it.
Right. And for me, again, when we're talking about shifting narratives and shifting our stories and inhabiting new worlds, I think we have to take the gut biome into account. Yeah. It's like feed it with I say organic as in from the earth. Yes. Things from the earth and not chemicals, and see how that again affects your mind, affects how you relate to others. And that's why I'm
if you can affect that, then you're going to affect the whole body. And even like when we talked about motivation, like that was a huge shift was in my diet, Yeah. And like to be feeling like, okay, I can get myself motivated now. Yeah.
And that's the thing, starting, because we think, for me, it's like from the top down, like from the head conceptuality, and that affects, your emotions, your feelings, all that. But we can also do from the bottom up. Yeah. We work with the food, with the very primal ingredients that we're mixing together to create this experience.
That's why they like always relate it so much to like cars for people, because it's like you wouldn't put this in your car and expect it to run this way. Why do we do it with our body? Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
but you care more about your material than what's operating the material.
That's the thing. Health is wealth. Right, exactly. Health as well.
That's actually a quote on my page. I always say, green is my gold and health is my wealth.
It is, because like, who cares how much money you have if you're just, I mean, addicted to alcohol and eating dog shit.
Green is in nature, guys.
Yeah, green is in nature. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to talk about too. I mean, we'll have to leave it here for now. So I guess I want to ask that question. We're gonna leave it as a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
and save it for the next one.
Let's do it.
But Shaena, thank you so much for meeting.
Thank you,
so short
Ben.
notice. And
So nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
This is such a dope conversation.
Yeah.
And we have to have a part 2 at this point.
Okay.
Because I would love to again go into
that.
Your passion and your expertise really. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.